Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be making this beautiful pencil gown. If this look like what you're interested in, definitely watch till the end. I'm going to go ahead to start drafting, and we're going to start with the basic half scale bodies. Okay, so let's go ahead. The first thing I have to take is I just started by drawing out a base. Okay, this line here is going to be like a form of a guideline, so I'm going to be taking the rest of my body measurement from this line here. So I'll go ahead to take my bust point and then the waistline. This is just a basic bodies. I'm not supposed to do this because I've been doing this for a very long time, but I'm just going to do it for people that might not have been following my channel. Okay, so this is my bust point, that is my shoulder to bust line, and then my shoulder to waistline. Okay, in this case we don't really need the under bust. We don't really need the under bust. Okay, just the bust line and the waistline that we need, because it's going to be having a basic dart. Okay, so I'm going to take the exact same measurements here just so I can get a perfect straight line. Right, so after getting this, I'm going to go ahead and connect. Okay, so this is what we have now. The next we are going to go ahead to do is to work on the neckline. So the neckline of this top is going to be a little bit wider than our normal neckline, so I'm going to be using 4 inches here, and then for the down I'm going to also be using 4, which means I'm going to be using 4 by 4 inches. Okay, so having gotten this, I'm going to go ahead and connect. All right, so this is what we have. So I'm going to go ahead now and take the half of my armhole measurement, that is the half of my shoulder measurement, that is divide your shoulder measurement by 2. Whatever you have, mark it there. All right, and then from there I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant. All right, so this is what we have. Right, so from the shoulder slant you're going to divide your bust measurement by 6 and add 1.5 to it. So when I did so, this is what I have. All right, and that line here is going to be my chest line. All right, in case you don't know the measurement I just said, this is the measurement of how to get your armhole depth. Okay, divide whatever you have as your bust measurement, divide it by 6, and whatever you have there, add 1.5 inches to it. This is how you get your armhole depth. This works for all sizes, by the way, so go ahead and use the formula anytime you want to achieve a perfect armhole for yourself. Okay, so having connected this, I'm going to go ahead and find the midpoint. This is how we get our armhole curve. I'm going to find the midpoint of this line we have here. Okay, find the midpoint, make a mark there. On that midpoint, go in by 1/2 inch. Okay, then on your chest line, divide your bust measurement by 4. Okay, divide your bust measurement by 4. Whatever you have there, that is what you are going to mark on your chest line. Okay, so when I've gotten this, I'm going to connect this point here and this point with my curve. So this is what we have now. All right, so the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to take the dart. Remember, this is going to be a basic dart, so you divide your nipple to nipple measurement by 2. All right, your nipple to nipple measurement by 2, then you mark it on your bust line and also on the waistline. Okay, after marking this, go ahead and connect with a straight line. Okay, so after connecting like so, the next thing you're going to do is to take your dart leg, which we get by going in and out of that line by 0.5 inches. Okay, this is the basic dart leg. Take note, this is the basic dart leg. So just go ahead and go in and out by 0.5 inches from the dart line we already have. then you connect up to the bust point. Okay, so now this is what we have. After we have achieved this, we are almost through. Just go ahead and impute your body measurements. Okay, here this is what we have. Then on the waist, just divide your waist measurement by 4. Now remember, I have not added any stitching allowance to this. Okay, when I'm cutting on my actual fabric, I'm going to add a stitching allowance. So when I've gotten the quarter of my waist measurements, I'm going to replace this dart here. Okay, so what I have there is 1 inch, then I replaced it. All right, so having gotten that, I'm now going to go ahead and connect like so. Okay, so this is all for this front. This is all for the front. I'm just going ahead to use my marker to make all the parts we are going to be cutting visible. Okay, so this is it. We're also going to cut the neck. All right, so let me go ahead now and cut out. The back part, I went ahead to do almost the same thing I did for the front. The only difference is that I left 1.5 inches for the zipper allowance. You can as well leave 1 inch if that is what works for you. But whenever I'm making a fabric that I'm going to be putting a lining, I love using 1.5 inches. Okay, so here I also did the exact same thing to get the armhole, but then I've not gotten the armhole curve. So for the back, our curve, you know, our back is not always like our front for the curve. So what I'm going to do is from the midpoint of the curve here, I'm going to just connect from outside here. We're not going to go in on the midpoint by any inch. Okay, like the front, unlike the front that we went in on the midpoint by 0.5 inches. Here we're just going to connect here to here, which is the quarter of our bust measurement. Okay, so here I'm just going to connect like this. Okay, have you seen what we've done? I just connected like this. So now when we are cutting the armhole for the back, we are going to be cutting along this line. All right, so if you also find out, you are going to see I have not done the neckline for the back as well. That is because we have a deep V neckline. Right, so for that neckline I'm going to be using, for the neckline I'm going to be using 10 inches for the neckline. Okay, let me make use of 9 inches so it's not going to be overly deep. All right, let me make use of 9 inches. Then I'm just going to connect it to the tip of the neck. Remember, the tip of the neck has to be equal. It has to be equal with the tip of the neck for the front. Okay, I mean the width of the neck has to be equal with the front on. Okay, so now this is what we have. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take my dart. All right, note that every measurement we are taking it from this line, which is the center back. This one is going to be the zipper allowance. So I'm going to take my dart from here, just like we did for the front, 4 inches, which is the half of our nipple to nipple measurements. Okay, and then we are going to add that measurement on our bust line, our chest line, and also the half length of this gown. All right, I'm going to go ahead to connect with a straight line just like we did before. Then on the dart leg, go out by 0.5 inches on both sides. Okay, so now I'm going to extend this one towards the chest line. Remember that in the front we stopped taking our dart, we stopped the extension of our dart leg in the bust line, but for this case, because this is the back, we are going to take it all the way up to the chest line. Okay, I hope you understand this. All right, so this is what we have. Okay, so at this point, the next thing we are going to do now is to take our measurements. Remember, any measurements you are taking from your center back. Always remember that. Okay, so take the quarter of your round waist measurement and then replace your dart. All right, when I was done, I'm just going to go ahead and connect like so. All right, so the last thing we are going to be doing for this back is to eliminate zip bulge. To do that, from here from the center of our zip, because this is the zipper allowance, right? I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch on the center here, just 1/2 inch. All right, so there is no rule where you can stop, where you can end this. There is no rule to it. You can decide to stop it on the chest line, you can decide to take it all the way up to your neckline. All right, just connect from here slanted all the way up to anywhere you want it to be. But if you are making a fabric that is stretchy, I will always advise you take it all the way up to the neck. Okay, like so. So this is what we have. So at this point now, we are through with drafting. I'm going to go ahead now and cut out. So this is what we have for the back, and this is what we have for the front. Okay, this is what it's going to look like. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now and cut the skirt. For the down part, I've also went ahead to draw out my guard line. So I introduced a piece of pattern paper, a new piece of pattern paper, and I'm going to go ahead to take the length of this skirt. Okay, that means the down part of the pattern we drafted earlier. Remember, it's going to be a gown. Okay, so our length is 30 inches from the half length to the down is 30 inches, and I'm going to be adding 2 inches for the allowance. Okay, so I'm going to be adding that 2 inches when I'm cutting on my actual fabric. All right, so when I've gotten this, I'm just going to go ahead and make a straight line there, so we see that that is where our pattern is ending. All right, so now the next thing I'm going to take is my waist to hip line, which I use 9 inches. Okay, so if you are not very tall, you can use 8 inches. If you are so tall, I don't know if anybody can use 10 inches. I've never used 10 inches for anybody. The highest I've used for tall people is 9 inches, and it has been working really fine for me. So I don't know if anybody is as tall as using 10 inches, but if you are like as tall as a basketball player, you can go ahead and use 10 and see if that works for you. All right, so now this is where we are now. The next thing we are going to do is to take our dart. Okay, so I'm going to be using the half of my nipple to nipple measurement to take my dart, and that is 4 inches. All right, so on that line, on our hip line, I'm going to come up by 3 inches. This is where our dart is going to end, and then I'm going to go in with the same 4 inches, so I am sure to have a straight line. Okay, so now I'm going to connect like this. Okay, so this is what we have. So now that we've gotten this, we are going to go ahead to take our dart. All right, so just like we did for the front, we are going to be using 0.5 inches on both sides to get our 2 dart legs like this, and then we are going to connect it down to the end of the dart. Okay, so this is what we have. All right, so having gotten this, I'm just going to go ahead and impute my body measurement. So for my waist, I'm going to impute my waist measurement, and then I'm going to replace my dart, which is 1 inch. Okay, so for the hip, I'm going to go in with my hip measurement. Okay, and then what I like doing on the down part of my pencil gown or pencil skirt, I like taking 1.5 inches from what I have here. Okay, whatever I have here, I'll remove 1.5 inches from it. So here, this is what I have. This is what I have, and removing 1.5 inches from it, this is what we have. Okay, so this depends on what works for you. This gown, I'm going to slit it. Okay, it's going to have a slit, but if you know that your gown is not having a slit, please go in with 1 inch so that it's going to like enable you to walk. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and connect all these points. Remember, we have not added any stitching allowance both for the upper part and this lower part. We have not added any stitching. we have not added any stitching allowance, so go ahead and add your stitching allowance. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and connect. All right, so this is what we have now. All right, so I'm going to be using this pattern to cut both the front and the back, and we also have a style in this front. I'm supposed to like fold this pattern into two to get this, so I'm going to be using this same pattern to cut out the back as well, because the only difference between this front and the back is the zipper allowance. And then this front has a style at the front, which I'm going to show us how to achieve. Okay, so I'm going to cut this pattern out, go ahead to trace out my back first, adding my zip allowance. Then after that, I'm now going to go ahead and cut out the style at the front. So for the slanting style in the front, I actually measured my client from the shoulder to where the shorter part, where the like the shorter part of the skirt is going to start, because you know it's a kind of like this. Okay, so I'm supposed to like cut this pattern on fold, but I forgot, so but I'm still going to be able to achieve this with what I have. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away her half length and get where the thing I measured on her is going to start. So what I measured on her is 38 inches from where the shorter part is going to be. The actual length of her gown is 48 inches. So then what we have here is 38 inches here. All right. So I'm going to make a mark there on the 38 inches line. I'm going to make a mark. That is where the shorter one is going to start. Okay. And then we're now going to slant it a bit. The slant is not too much, it's just a little slant like this. So this slant, now when you extend it to the other side of the skirt, we are going to have it starting from here to here. All right, so I'm going to like make just a tiny slant here like this. Okay, so assuming we have the fabric on fold, this is how we're just going to extend it, and then we have the second part of the fabric. Okay, so I'm going to be cutting out here. I'm going to be cutting this out from here. All right, and I'm going to cut with the actual fabric from here. I'm going to cut with the actual fabric from here, and then from here I'm going to be cutting the net that is going to be on the down part. So I'll quickly go ahead and cut, and whatever you're cutting, make sure you're adding 0.5 inches for the joining allowance. So if you want to cut here, add 0.5 inches. If you want to cut here, add 0.5 inches. And of course, remember, we have never added any stitching allowance to everything we have, so do well to add. Cut it. Remember, we did not have our fabric on fold when we are cutting, when we are drafting the pattern. So this is how I'm going to cut this. Here I just placed one side of the fabric. Don't mind about the so many things on the table. This is to hold this fabric down. The fabric is slippery. Okay, so I'm just trying to like hold it in place. So here I just placed my pattern and I'm going to trace out. All right, and in the course of tracing out, I'm going to be adding 1.5 inches for the stitching allowance like this. Can you see what I'm doing? I just traced out. So here is the midpoint. I already traced out the other part. That is how I marked this midpoint here. Right? So in the course of tracing out, I just added 1.5 inches for the stitching allowance. I remember when I said you should add 0.5 inches. Okay, add 0.5 inches on the down part, so that when you want to cut it out, you can just go ahead, and when you want to sorry, not cut it out, when you want to join it, you can see the allowance to join it. All right, so this is what we have. I'm just going to go ahead and extend this like this. Have you seen? This is what we have. So just like you see me doing there, I've already gone ahead to trace out this part as well. Okay, I've gone ahead to trace out this part. So this is what we have. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and mark out the dot line. So now that we have this, I'm going to go ahead and cut out. After cutting, I'm still going to go ahead and fold it into two, so that I make sure that I have the perfect shape. So this is what we have. So have you seen what I mean by we are going to fold it into two to make sure we have the perfect shape for the fabric? Okay, that means to make sure that the both shape is aligning, and this is what we have. All right, so go ahead and cut yours like this. So I'm also going to go ahead and use this exact same method to cut out the lace that we are going to be using for the down part. Okay, this is what we have after cutting. All right, so for you not to be confused, just go ahead and fold your pattern paper on two when you are cutting. I made the mistake of not folding on two, which is maybe not actually mistake, because I've been doing this kind of work for a long time without cutting it on a pattern. I do it even freehand, but for this tutorial I'm supposed to have folded this into two, so it's going to be easier for us to like understand better. So when you are cutting your pattern, do fold it on fabric, or do fold your pattern paper on two, so that before you now slant, you open it up and slant. Just place it on your fabric and cut out. Okay, so but this is what we have at the end of the day. So here we're not going to be turning lining. That is why I did not add 0.5 inches for lining on the down part, if you can notice. So this is what we have. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut out lining for this. Done cutting out the lining, I went ahead to interface my lining. You can do that if you want. I use the lycra lining, and I use the body gum or cloth gum, depends on what you call it in your area, as the interfacing. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the neck and also turn the side. We know how to turn. I'm going to go ahead to turn both the down part and then the upper part and everything. So after turning, we are going to put the dart. We're going to quickly go ahead and put our dart. Okay, level, we are through with turning the lining and also putting in our darts. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to join the shoulders. After joining the shoulder, we are going to shape. All right, put any sleeve of your choice, and then we are going to put this shoulder, shape it, and also put the zipper. All right, so if this video is so fast, you can always watch it again, because I believe I was actually going in a very quick pace. So just join the shoulder with 0.5 inches, join the down and the up together, then put your zipper and shape. All right, so I'm going to come back and show us what we have after completing this dress. So this is what we have after we are done coupling everything together. If you have any question, you can drop in the comment section. If you're yet to subscribe, please consider subscribing and also turn on the notification bell to get notified anytime we upload a video like this. Also give this video a thumbs up and share with your friends. Until next time, bye.